Hi everyone, good afternoon. So today I just want to do a quick video about the new CFA scale score. So this is a welcome change in my opinion. I wrote a blog about the same thing, but some of the students wanted a little bit more detail about how the scale scores are computed and what is the percentage they have to get, right? So that's kind of a question they want, like how many questions they have to get right. Is it possible to even answer that? So let's look at this. What does the scale scores mean? So when you are getting this new results, so starting with the upcoming examination, you're going to be getting the results in this manner. Okay, so you will have your results. So this is going to be pass or did not pass, something like that. You will have your candidate ID, your name, all of that about that result. So this yellow line, let's call this as your MPS, your minimum passing score. And this is going to be different for different levels, right? So this is going to be for L1, you need to get 1,600. For L2, the number is 2,600. And for L3, it will be 3,600 because the range of the scores is different for each level. So what happens is for your L1, because it's a continuum, so someone is scoring some score in your level 1, it's not the same as scoring in your level 2. So it's an extension. So your L1, it starts from 1,000 and the score, the maximum you can get is 1,900. Then as you progress, your L2, your minimum score is 2,000, and then you can get up to 2,900. And in your L3, from 3,000 to 3,900. And your MPS is 600. In between those 900 points, you have to get like 1,600, 2,600, 3,600. So now they are going to actually give you the actual place at which you got. So your scale score. So let's use the example of L1. So if 1,600 is your MPS, you will see one more line, a dotted line. So this is going to be something like this. This line tells you the average score. So for your cohort, if you're taking the exam, say May 2025, your cohort scored somewhere there, scale score. I will talk about how the scale score is calculated. For now, let's just look at the results, how they're going to present it to you. So let's say this average cohort comes somewhere there, right? So something like that. So let's say it's 1,500. That's what the population on average score, and 1,600 is the MPS. And they're going to give you your score as a line. So this is going to be a thin line like this, maybe like that. And then there is going to be a confidence interval, some kind of a shading around that. So usually in a gray color. Okay, that gives you kind of a confidence interval, a range in which on any given day you might have scored. Because you got this doesn't mean this is what you will get if you sit for the exam with the same level of difficulty next time. So this is particularly useful for students who might have scored a little bit less than the MPS. So their line might be here. Say the line is here, but if the shaded part overlaps with the yellow, then you know that you have done a good job. You are very close to clearing. So it's not that difficult to close. Whereas if you have your line somewhere here, and then your shaded part is still nowhere close to the average or the MPS. So that's a challenge, that's a problem, right? So that's all we need to know about the exam results. This is your aggregate score. This is all your topics combined. So they're going to give you a scale score. Now you will also have individual topics. So if you're in level 1, you will have the kind of a similar representation for all the 10, but they're also going to have, if you're looking at the topic wise, so you're going to have for L1, say 10 topics. And you're going to have the maximum points, the available points. It is not disclosed for each topic what is the available points, but let's say this is your 100%, and they're going to have a 70% of the potential points that you can get in a topic and 50% line, and you will have your individual, let's say ethics, how you did in that, right? So you're going to have a line for your score. You did something like that, and then you're going to have a shaded part around that. So you will do that for all the 10. So it gives you an idea how you did. So 70% or 50% are pretty much arbitrary. It's not that you have to get 70% of the points, available points, or 50%, but it gives you an idea. Usually we try to think 70% as a good score for each topic. But there's no individual, there is no individual topic pass or fail. No. So don't worry about this. So you can score a relatively high percentage. Say you scored very high in FSA, in equity, in fixed income, you scored somewhere there. Even though in one topic you scored below 70, you can still clear it. You can still have your overall score above the overall MPS. Okay, so this is a question that's commonly asked. Do I need to clear each of the topic? The answer is no, but obviously it's good that you can get above 70% in each of the topic. That's what we should aim for, but you can still clear your level 1 examination or level 2 or level 3 if you don't get above 70% in each of the topics. Now, to get back to the scores, how are the scale scores computed? Okay, let's get into that. That's the last part of our discussion here. So CFA Institute uses what is called as the modified Angoff method, very common method in most of these professional competitive examinations. The modified Angoff method, the primary benefit is that it is based on the exam difficulty and not based on the students that took the exam in that window. Okay, so the cutoff, the MPS, is based on the examination difficulty itself. So how it is done is you create a panel of experts, usually CFA charter holders, who will look at the exam questions and are going to say, okay, they know what is the typical level of difficulty. So what the CFA panel, the exam panel, is going to do is to identify something called as a minimally competent candidate. This is the kind of a person who is expected to clear that exam, level 2, level 1, level 3, whatever it is. For each one, we are going to identify minimally competent candidate. I want to abbreviate this as MCC. Now, this person is expected to attempt all the questions, and what is the probability of that person answering that question correctly or wrongly? So again, this panel is going to give that probabilities. So let's say there are 180 questions. So they're going to assign probabilities for each of this, right? So they will say for the first question, the probability is 0.6, second question 0.4, so on and so forth. So 0.6 into 1. So you're going to assign those weights and sum this for all the 180 questions, something like that, right? So you want to sum them up, multiply with the weights, and then sum them up. So you will get a score. So you are going to get a score, some value there. And this is going to be equated to 1,600. So let's say this comes to 140. This is just hypothetical. This is not a real number, right? It could be anything. So I just don't want to write anything, some value, and that is going to be equated to 1,600 if you are L1. It's going to be equated to 2,600 if you are L2, and so on. So if you score above that, right, whatever this X value, you are going to get a scaled score above 1,600. If you score below X, you're going to scale score less than 1,600. Where is it? It's very tough to say. Again, from what we have seen in the past, usually students have to score about 70%, right? But we don't know with the scale scores. Let's see. But again, we don't have to worry about it. This probability is going to take care of the difficulty of the exam. If the exam is very difficult, the probability will come down. and your MPS score, the actual score. So instead of being 140, might be 130 or 120 even. Like, so you're going to be adjusted for the content difficulty, the exam difficulty. So we don't have to worry so much about it. The end of the day, the goal is to get as high as possible and consistently above 70% again in your topics, right? So this one, we want it to be above 70% of the possible score, the available points. It's not necessarily a percentage of the available points that we have to score. And if we do that, we will be good. And we want to score as high as possible. So this one, we want to be really high. We want to aim for closer to that 1,900 or 2,900 or 3,900, okay? So that will be what I would recommend all my students and everyone watching this. So all the very best with your CFA prep. Good luck.